Sterile walls gleefully anticipate the ticks of my nightmare until a frigid frenzy freezes the ability to ignore the distant buzzing. Furious that I've allowed this occurrence to happen, disinfectant fumigates the circumference of where I lay in an attempt to sterilize the willingness bacterial strand that's suffocating my obedience. The spritzing chemical reactions hide the intermingling between the noisy halls to introduce enough racket to temporarily buzz off my hearing. Discombobulated, pricking sensations weigh me down as I stumble out into the corridors to get away. Bleak walls offset the uneasy damp carpet that gushes between my toes, squishing electrons throughout the balls of my feet. The more I close the distance between the source of my disturbance and me, the more statically charged my feet become, so much so that the door handle has become an aspect of thunder, sending miniature bolts to electrocute me. In a stunned state, seeking capillaries widen as the view crosses a threshold, a wiggling orbitoclast resides in the socket of a denizen, sustained by a vanilla figure that continues to damage the prefrontal cortex. Sparks fly as connections to the lobotomized patient's brain are stripped and short-circuited. Nape follicles must have detected an onlooker, for a cream blip extracts a vial of infused molasses from its waffle cone-shaped pocket, softly serving it into my neck. Instantaneously, these nimble limbs contract rigor mortis and rigidly crash. Visually distorted, physically nauseous by the gelatinous residue of seeping brain goo that caresses my skin. When I try to pronounce my disgust, a combination of jumbled, intelligible consonants gurgle from my mouth, stammering on and on as I rely myself back into this life. Intuitively, I follow the viscous remains, regardless of the irregular stains. Slumped over in their sedated slumber, the neighboring residents obstruct my pathway with the stride of hysteria they've managed to manifest, snickering away as a psychotropic medication trigger periodic convulsions, compulsively jerking from door to door in order to find an alternative exit before these side effects introduce more side effects. The background presents what appears to be rattling prescription bottles, rhythmically clinking in such a melodic chant that oscillates me into the infirmary. This ward flaunts all the amenities of a medical facility, but the rambunctious roaches and rowdy rodents prove my previous observation incorrect. Nevertheless, the stimulants are plentiful, and the occupants are too amazed by the hole in the wall to be quarrelsome. Gnawing on capsules of Serentel to verify its authenticity, I stash the tablets from within the moldy compartments inside the linings of my pockets. The contraband isn't relieved from its original position no longer than it takes the roaches to scamper under the epileptic lights before I am sideswiped by what can only be described as gargantuan in stature. My legs refuse to allow myself to analyze this situation, as I am tumbling halfway through the walkway by now, frantically hurtling over foreign obstacles that my peripheral can only conceive as unconceivable. The autopilot transfer from these legs back to this brain of mine gets hacked by the hysterical antics of the residents. With these clammy hands, I mash the tablets into a chewable crumble form and administrate the medicine via airborne, infesting the manifesting infestation with somber dreams. Giving leeway to an uncharted region of this sanatorium, a singular loop around the north wing brings about a monstrosity of pure inconvenience on my behalf. Relapsing with fright, this foreign featureless foe exudes a menacing demeanor, as the facial expressions are a sly product to demonstrate how well the heart does with stress. I'd strike if I didn't want to cower, and I'd cower if I didn't want to strike. Whatever decision is to be made is to be done before I am overtaken by its looming presence. My procrastination gives me a premeditated strike to the abdomen, buckling my knees like a test dummy on a crash course into a solid surface. This course, I presume, would result in my body damaging the floor, but I sprout dainty wings and fly at an odd 45-degree angle rapidly through kilometers of stale oxygen in the mezzanine. With my head ricocheting off the metal trolley, I scramble to find my bearings, insert them back into my will, and skate over this grogginess. Remnants of my limited capacity to establish a direct line of tenacity fizzle in and out like a bad connection. Therefore, for momentary purposes, I shift control from the neutral hospital bed to the revving tension in my palm. Under my control, I swerve the lane to solid concentration. In full momentum, I fully charge the distorted figurine. Trauma unveiled sets the camouflage orifices, billowing acidic spores in all directions. Terrified at the sight that my sight now views a grimy scenery, I frantically converge the frame of the hospital bed repeatedly into the nearest solid object until the brakes lock and the wheels skid away. The malignant silence can be heard throughout the intercom, cooing the coop back into their monotonous chore.